talking today with Deb Way, Director of the Hensley Behavioral Health Unit, and we were talking about, especially with dementia patients, to not try to correct them. Yeah, that
unless it's going to be harmful for that individual, there's really nothing to be gained.
Yeah.
I often tell people, to me, it's more important that you have things structured and things occur every day at the same time, like mealtime, medication time,
bedtime, everything, bath time. Has, not to put you on the spot, but this is something that I've always wondered about. What is the connection, if you can answer it, about not wanting water, like showers, not wanting to take a shower, seems to be prevalent throughout a lot of Alzheimer's patients. Is there?
I don't know 100%, but as my background is an occupational therapist, and I've done ADLs with a variety of people.
Activities of daily living.
Yes, sorry. But you know, so much of the time, you know, if you've had a fractured hip and I'm helping you, you may be naked or semi-dressed with me, and that's not threatening.
Right.
But if you can't remember that I did this with you yesterday, and you're naked, you're very vulnerable.
Okay.
And it's very fearful because who are you? Why are we here? Why are we doing this? You know,
that makes sense.
It becomes, to me, I would always go in and try to spend a few minutes getting reacquainted. This is who I am. This is what I do.
Slow the whole pace down.
You have to.
And
you just can't go in and jump into things. You have to slow it down. You have to make sure that we're moving in the right direction together, because I think that's a big piece of it.
Yeah,
is
that makes
we're
complete
rushed,
sense.
You know, and if I'm a caregiver at home, and I've got a certain amount of time to do this, and then I've got to do something else, then I get rushed. And when I get rushed, oh, you can forget it. It's not going to happen. And if it does, it won't be pleasant.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's why I encourage people to be structured. And a lot of the older adults, I don't even think you should bathe every day. Just wash up.
Skin gets so dry.
It does.
Absolutely.
It does.
Yeah.
And that helps too. I think if caregivers need to be able to reach out to a support group, they need to learn as much as they can about the disease and the progression. And then they need to make the commitment to care for themselves while they care for their parent or sibling or whoever. You know, and I think sometimes people forget about respite care.
Yeah.
You know, you can go to any of our wonderful nursing homes in the area, and they can do respite care.
Okay.
Because, you know, you might have a health issue. You may just need a break.
Right.
You know.
And I know that people, a number of people that, you know, take a vacation. If you've had a class reunion planned for a couple of years or something, and we're really looking forward to it, you know, don't cancel the plans. Use the respite care. Take your loved one to the nursing home. They will absolutely do everything that you do on a daily basis.
They will.
And you'll come back invigorated and energized, and be able to take much better care of your loved one.
Oh, that's so very true.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when tempers flare, you know, bad decisions are made. Not that they're ever done, any intentional thing would ever be done, but that's just how we're wired as humans.
Yeah. And your point about educating yourself about the disease, I do remember a family member years ago dealing with his wife with dementia, really thought she was acting, that she was, you know, pretending, because there were times when she was completely lucid and they could carry on their regular conversations, because he didn't understand the disease, nor did he educate himself. He chose to look at it as though she were just trying to make life difficult, and that certainly wasn't the case.
She does this on purpose. I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
She just does this stuff on purpose. No,
no.
I don't.
No.
And you know, lots of times during the day, it's called sundowning, but as the day wears on, you know, they've been up all day, they've had lunch, it's the middle of the afternoon, they're more tired. Lots of things can trigger this, but that's when you may see a change in cognition, in behavior. They'll start wandering around. They're looking for whatever, and sometimes they're telling me they want their mom and dad, or I've got to get home, it's getting dark. You know, that's also part of this process.
Yeah.
And that requires families to be very proactive, you know, redirecting. Well, it's almost time to start dinner. I wondered if you could help me. You know, or so-and-so is coming over tonight. Let's clean the living room.
Right.
You
Here's
know,
a basket of socks to fold,
Yes.
or towels. I
Yes.
always remember
Yes.
that as being a
Yes.
real good a task that, especially if it's a woman, they've done all their lives, or their married lives, if they've taken care of a family. So.
And lots of times when it's a gentleman, they may not have done those homemaking kinds of things, but you can engage them in the kitchen while you're cooking and say, you know, Mama taught me how to make this dish. Do you remember eating this before? Or what's your favorite dish? Or did you ever do any cooking for yourself? Just to keep them engaged and to move. And that'll often get them from the wandering or whatever issue's going on, and you can redirect.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just as simple as that, just move into another room, changing topics. I've often said to the patients on the floor, I don't know anything about that, but I do know this, and they will go with me. And you don't have to tell them what they're thinking is off the mark, you know.
I always thought of that. There was once upon a time, because I go way back with training, so I know things have changed. But it was that, that the nursing staff was required by law to make sure to try and keep them focused on the present, okay? And boy, is that thinking, thank goodness, changed, because I always remember this one with one nurse saying, she doesn't remember her husband dying. So you want me to tell her every time she asks where he is that he's dead? I was like, whoa, that was an eye-opener.
Yeah.
So, how kind, how unkind was that?
Yeah.
So we've come a long way.
Oh yeah, we have calendars up.
Yes.
We do things that are called reality orientation because we have all that stuff available. We don't preach it. We don't do
It's
that.
just there and available.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
And if they don't remember things like a spouse is deceased, my answer is, you know, I don't know. I don't know where he's at right now.
Yep.
But you're with me. Let's go do
Yeah.
this.
Then the redirect takes over, and it's so much kinder, so much more really being a caregiver.
It is, because man, I couldn't imagine the pain of every hour being back in the throes of grief.
Sure. Exactly. So, finally, I think enough nurses all got together and said, no, we're not doing it that way. Thank goodness for our nurses.
Because, you know, sometimes, I mean, I'm like you. I've had a lot of training, and I work with really bright people. But sometimes it's just common sense, you know? My grandfather didn't call me his granddaughter. He called me Sarah. Sarah was the first wife that died in childbirth. And he wouldn't let my daddy do anything with him. He thought my daddy was a bad man. So my daddy would sit and cry, and I would say, no, Earl, we're going to do this. Okay. And he did whatever. And, you know,
whatever works, really.
Yeah,
really, whatever makes sense to everybody.
Because my relationship with him had to change to be what he needed me to be.
Yes.
And if I was going to be involved and to be a caregiver, I had to meet that need. And, you know, I can answer to Sarah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
If that works. Yeah. And I know we talked about the sundowning, and I can think of different things. The one thing about getting educated that always comes to, that's top of mind, is for eating. And the fact that, you know, don't put everything on a white plate, number one. And if you don't know the answer to that one and you have someone with Alzheimer's, you need to get educated.
You do. You do.
And how if you just turn the plate around, we spent a lot of time training staff
Yes.
to do things like this so that they
Yes.
were aware
Mm-hmm.
of what needed to be done and why.
Right.
So, yeah,
Right.
that they don't see that anymore. As the vision actually
The vision will
starts.
narrow,
Mhm.
right. And and there'll come a time when you'll want to do away with a fork and a spoon, and you need to go more toward finger
foods, yeah.
And like sometimes they won't sit down to eat,
Mm-hmm.
so we put food in cups and allow them to walk and eat
Mm-hmm.
because they're not going to sit down and eat.
Right.
So you provide nutrition on the go
Mm-hmm.
because that's where they're
Sure,
at.
you can put carrot sticks and celery sticks and
Half
chicken
of a
and
sandwich, a
just
chicken wing,
yeah.
whatever.
Just put it in a cup.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It works.
If that works, yeah, that's what you need to do.
True,
Yeah.
true.
Well, let's go back over. If anyone wants to get a hold of you,
They can call 870-508-6400.
6400.
And then if you have a loved one that you're concerned about, and if you take them to your primary care doctor, as long as they can rule out that they don't have a UTI or some sort of an occult infection,
Mm-hmm.
then that physician can do a direct admit. If you go to a clinic with an advanced nurse practitioner,
Uh-huh.
same thing.
Right.
If you're in a skilled nursing facility where your health care is monitored a little closer than just going to and from a doctor, they can also call us, send us some information. We can do direct admits that way.
Great.
If you're not in a situation to get to your doctor, you can always go to our wonderful emergency room department.
Yes.
And they will work you through, and they will notify us as quickly. And we like to go down and meet with the family, meet with the patient, go ahead and start our process so we can move them along to get them out of that department.
Sure.
Because it's,
And get them the care they need,
Right.
which you do so beautifully, Deb.
oh, thank you. Thank
Would you come back and see us again?
I'd love to, Donna.
All right, you come back again soon. Thanks for joining us today for BRMC's Healthy Connections.